time for people to find me. I didn't send out a link today. What was I going on? Oh, good idea with the mark baskets.
Yeah, maybe I don't have any work bringing back to.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. You're finding me. I have we went for a hike today, so I'm quite windblown, but quite refreshed as well. Hi, Dominique. You found me. I wanted to ask you all how you typically, while we wait for people to come on, how do you typically find the links to this? Do you go to YouTube and get the links, or do you get it from the emails that I send out, from the Ascension Bank page? Just curious. You go to YouTube. Good. Okay. YouTube. All right. Nice. Those the answers technically really wanted to hear. I'm having a struggle with getting on technology in the morning and sending out my emails. Okay, generally go to YouTube. Perfect. Okay, I might just not send an email out in the in the mornings anymore, but just be here at 4, because I'm finding the more that I don't know. I guess the more that I settle into this whole life, the less I want to be on technology. It's like technology is literally hard for me to be on. And so this morning we got up and it was such a beautiful day, and it's been kind of rainy and just a little bit cloudy. So we wanted to do something outside, and I just couldn't, like, the idea of being outside in nature just like filled me up. And then I was like, oh, I haven't sent my email out yet. And I noticed, and here this kind of ties in with the message for today. I noticed that the more I find myself in discomfort, I'm like, how do I change that? How do I change that? How do I change that? Like, change is not scary at all to me anymore. And I feel like I've taken such a big jump change wise in this last year. Like, I mean, to me, it feels like monumentous jump that nothing can compare to it as far as how scary it was and how much transformation needed to be required of Bud and the dog and I to do this, to become these people that were able to do it. So now it's like anything else is kind of like, oh, this change is easy. So what I keep noticing myself like being frustrated with is having to get on technology and like social media and all of that. So I've taken a couple of days, like this, probably about a week now, and I've just really observed myself, what it feels like to not get on there. I have this like urgency of like, well, I have to be on there so that people know that I'm here and they know, what the daily tune in is, and, do that side of, letting people know I'm here. And yet it's so very difficult. And I'm wondering if there is a request for me to, and I promise this is coming back to you, but this is how I got the message kind of coming in, because all day today, as we hiked, we went to the most spectacular place that's right down the road. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it in a minute. But what I'm wondering is, if I just leave it up to consciousness to, if I know I'm going to be here at 4:00 every day on the daily tune in, I might just let it be that, and not deal with like trying to, have people come in and invite people in and go to Instagram and Telegram and all the things that just, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it anyway. So if I don't want to do it, then am I really doing anything that's productive? That's what we are being asked to play with, is the things that we find ourselves constantly like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, but I have to. Like, we're being asked to go into a whole different level of change, of business, of parenting, of all the things in a completely different way. So I'm going to come back to that, because today, like the story of today sparked a little nugget that came to me, and then it just kind of exploded about an hour ago as far as what we're going to talk about today. But we went to this amazing place, and y'all, when you come here, like, you better hurry up, because I think change is happening, and I'm not sure we're going to be here as long as we thought. But at the same time, I don't know yet what that is. But this beach that we went to had the most amazing rocks, the most amazing rocks. It was a rock beach, which I've never really cared for, but at the same time, now that I'm here and there's rock beaches, I'm seeing a whole different level of appreciation in them than I ever had. One of them is as the water comes up and then recedes back, these they're big rocks. So these rocks, and I pulled a couple, and I asked Earth if I could take them, because I'm going to be using these for hot stone massages. So I got some, and but like look at some of these rocks; they're incredible. I want to like do some more research, but each of them, when I was asking, I literally do ask, and oh, do you mind? Do you mind, mother, if I take this? But it's for healing purposes because I want to make these into some beautiful art of some sort. But some really cool things, and they have like natural pumice stones on the beach, so you can just pick up a pumice stone and come home and like scrub your feet and stuff, or just sit in the water and scrub your feet, actually. But anyway, so we had the dogs down there, we're running, and for those of you who don't know, we had this street dog adopt us a couple of weeks ago, and he's been as loyal as anything. Like, we cannot get rid of him. We don't put him on a leash. When we walk 3-4 miles, he like walks with us, and he'll wander off, but he finds us and he stays with us all the way back here. And yes, I've invited him in. He's super well behaved and very polite when he's here. And but when we walk, we just put him out on, he's free to go. He's free, and we can't get rid of him. He keeps his eye on us the entire time. But our only challenge with him is when we walk, he's super vocal. Like, I know he's using his voice, but he's using it out of fear, and he's just loud, barks at everyone and everything. And now he's getting kind of territorial with us. So any other dogs that want to come and play with Priya, or people, that he doesn't like, he just barks, 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 barks. And he's like really frenetic when we're out and about. And I've been observing this. So today we went on our hike, and we went like out of town, and he was off leash the whole time, but he was like circling all around, and he's this little fast thing. And what I noticed finally after 2 times we've taken him out of town is he herds us. He goes way ahead of us and barks at the cows and the goats and all of that, and then he comes back around, and he comes from behind, and then when he can get up on a mountain, or not a mountain, but a hillside, he'll go up there. And I was watching him, and he's just watching us. He's watching all around, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, he finally feels purpose. Like, he's finally now getting to the point, because our animals are going through the same process as we are. They are coming up in higher consciousness, in their doggy way, in their cat way, in the bird's way. But he is he's now understanding, like, this inherent nature in him to herd is now, like, he has a purpose, and he's herding this new family and keeping us safe. And all the while, doing what herding dogs do, and they run and they bark constantly. So we're all trying to figure out how to embrace each other and allow each other some freedom, but also, like, he's got to come into this human world if he wants to stick with us. So we do have some rules, and he's not as free as he has once been. But at the same time, when he's like not free, he's pretty loved at the same time. So all of that to say, I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's coming into their higher purpose. Everyone's coming into the higher clarity of what we are here for and what this is all really about. And we are now starting to get to the point where, like, wait a minute, I'm starting to get the bigness of this. And the bigger it means our consciousness, the more we're going to be surprised with, I'm going to say, on one hand, what has been withheld from us, but to take away, to remember, we're kind of letting go of that world, right? We're letting go of the old paradigms. And yes, we kind of get a lot of them now, and we're going to be coming into more realizations of all of them. But on the other side, there's going to be some profound understanding of what you are capable of doing, what we are capable of doing. And I mean, like, as humans, as godly humans, we are coming into a much higher resolution of of human consciousness. We are getting into higher realms than we have ever been before, that we, meaning humanity, human beings, have ever been. So we are moving into now, and pretty quickly, into a higher realm of the fifth dimensional frequency that's never been really experienced by modern day humans. So we are coming into a consciousness, as our pets are too. There's like a purpose that they're here at this time with us. So don't forget the magnitude of change that they're going through. So as we are expanding and expanding and expanding, and right now with this flash is looking, it's different than what we have been led, or I don't even think we've been led, but what we kind of have been led, and what maybe we thought it was going to be. We thought maybe we thought it was going to be some big explosion or some dramatic thing, or whatever. And there might be parts of that, but it's what this is really it's a flash of insight all at once. And I do believe it's going to be happening in waves, because the same flash that you get could not be handled by someone who is still very much anchored in that third dimensional, matrix operating system, because it would fry them. So we are going in waves, but we are waking up into these higher frequencies, into these higher states of being. So the changes, what we're going to notice, and I have noticed it in the last week, and I'll share this, is we are going to be getting insights of change that will be illogical, that will kind of seem like it's coming out of nowhere, and you're like, wait, what? And that change, the change is, it's so hard to explain. I'm going to read what I wrote. The change is transporting you. That is your ship, so to speak, right? So we've been kind of visualizing ships coming in, the solar flash comes in and ships come in, and we get on these ships and we go. So, we've watched a lot of the same movies. So all of a sudden we're like, whoa, these like UFO ships are coming in, and we get in and go off. And maybe for some that is the case. For many, the change is what's transporting you into the higher dimensional realities, because change automatically does that. The minute you get an idea of change and you say, okay, I'm doing that, then the willingness, remember, the willingness takes you into courage and willingness. You have the courage to say yes and the willingness to go. That automatically puts you in life expansive frequencies, which take you into higher dimensional realities. So you are going to be asked, if you're not already being asked, to make some massive moves. I just realized today, this flash has been happening for years. And in 2020, September 2020, I was asked to do this, to do this journey, to change my location. Many of you are being asked to change your location. Many of you are being asked to change your job. Many of you are being asked to change in some way. You know what it means for you, but that change may not be logical, might not be like, well, I've never even thought about that. And I will tell you, Bud and I have been kind of doing a review in like the last week of all the things that we've done in our time together, and we were blown away. But one of the things is, when we started talking about this, we started talking about moving from Austin to Northern California, and we were like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Within a week, all of a sudden we were like, oh no, we're going to Spain, we're going to Europe, and like everything changed on a whim. And we answered that. For some reason, something in my eye. For some reason, we were like, ooh, that sounds cool. Like, we liked the sounds of it, but it made no logical sense, right? Having teenagers and having a pretty good life and all that stuff. Sorry, you guys, hold on 1 second. I'm having a difficult time with my eyeball. It's like, it's got something on it. So what I'm sensing is there's going to be like another cycle of this, like where, hey, we need you to change. And this is where we need you to change. We, meaning your team, speaking to you. You are going to start, if not, you're going to now know to be looking for it, because you probably have already been getting the nudges to change. And those nudges might not seem, they might seem synchronistic a little bit. You might be like, ooh, I've always kind of wanted to do that. but it makes no sense. Okay, so this is where the soul, like the flashes are going to come, the flashes of insight, but we've got to do something with that insight. And that insight is higher wisdom. That higher wisdom is coming from your higher self, who has already created the fifth dimensional life and lifestyle that you have been working towards down here in the lower realms of the physical world. You have been doing this work, and you have been doing this work, and your higher self has been up in the fifth dimensional realm, putting that life together, building it, creating it from everything that you have been down here saying, okay, I've done that, don't want that anymore, but this I do want. And you've been intentionalizing in consciousness everything you wanted, and it's been created up here. What is happening now is your higher self is now calling you up into that fifth dimensional version, the fifth dimensional life version that you have already chosen, right? You've already chosen, and you're close enough now to your soul path that the changes you are being given, not really given, they've always been there, but the changes now that you are ready to download are the changes that flash you, that blast you up into that fifth dimensional expression. So when an inkling of change comes, get on it as fast as you can, no matter how scary. And it probably will be scary because it will be so unknown. It won't be anything that you expected. It won't be anything that you thought it would look like. And that's where we get caught up when an opportunity shows up, or something, like when we were, when we were invited to Ukraine, we were like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. That was kind of crazy. Like, whoever goes to Ukraine? And all of a sudden we were there, and we got to be there and experience, the critical months up until, this war. I got to see a whole part of history that was unfolding and be in that country, and also do a lot of other work that I was there to do. So, again, that came out of nowhere, and it didn't make logical sense. Like, why the hell would I ever go all the way to Ukraine and leave my kids that far? But now I see why we had to do that. If this is the time now, and I think it feels like I go through like a little bit of a stage before sometimes. And I think what's happening is I'm sent there so that I can like kind of report back what the experience is, because now I'm getting very much the sense that change is going to be transporting you. That is your ship, right? Ship to higher consciousness, and you are being transported. Change is the ship. It's your ship. I'm sorry, there's a lot of ships. The ship is what takes you to the flash. The ship is what takes you to the flash of insight. So when you choose change today in the smallest of ways, and you take a step towards, and you say, yes, okay, I'm going to go for that change. You take a step, a flash happens, and you get more clarity. And then that clarity comes, and you kind of solidify that change. And then another idea comes in for change. Now we're going to do this. This is how you get to that fifth dimensional version, expression of your life. So here's the change we're requiring of you. And it comes down into your heart, and you're like, oh, that sounds exciting, but oh my gosh, it's so like, that I don't even get it. And if you don't get it, that's certainly probably the path to take, because that is the weird, the synchronistic thing that comes out of nowhere, or that all of a sudden is an idea, and someone's like, where'd you get that idea? And you're like, I have no idea. You know where it came from. It came from your higher self. So you can actually answer that truthfully now and be like, oh, my higher self sent the idea. Then see what people do. That's how we change the vocabulary of, oh, my higher self told me. Like, we're going to normalize the speak that we've all been kind of like diminished for, and like eyes rolled for. This is where we speak our truth and just say, you know what, my higher self gave me the idea, and I'm going for it because it sounds kind of fun, doesn't it? And you just go for it. I know just going for it is a lot harder sometimes than what it is, but right now we have to understand that this flash of light is partly solar, is partly EMP from those that are helping us. They are supporting the solar energy coming in with their own advanced, ancient, both technology to help us expand into higher consciousness quickly. And that's what this flash is. That's why we are being bombarded. That's why your bodies are in a little bit of pain at the moment, probably. It's why your stomachs are messed up. It's why you're feeling nauseous and disoriented. That's why you're feeling, ringing in the ears. That's why you might be just feeling emotionally either really heavy or really high, depending on where you are and what densities you have in you. So it's why you're feeling so disoriented at the moment, because you are being lifted up in consciousness. You are being beamed up. And the more that you say yes to these changes, the ship is your life, right? You are the ship. You've heard that before. You are the light ship, the integrated multidimensional light ship, all the things, you are that. So as you are being beamed up by the help of the solar energies and the galactic energies, you then help this process for yourself and globally by getting an insight and being like, I think today's the day I've got to, like, I have to do this. Today's the day I have to do that. And you then choose that change, and that bounces you up. It bounces you up. And the more you take a step, the more you stay in that change, the more flashes of light. So the faster you change, the faster the flashes of light come. And I will tell you, I thought I hit a plateau here. I was like, sweet, this is a good place for us to hole up for a little while in Saranda and enjoy enjoy the world here, because the world is so amazing. And we're going to sign a 1-year lease. And I feel already, I'm like, man, already I feel the alchemy of change happening around me. I don't know what the insight is, but I can feel it pulling me. I can see, I've felt our little doggy family expand, and I can see what is required of this beautiful dog that has been in the, not the right environment. He needs a farm. He needs space to run and do his purpose and be the little critter that he is. And he's confined in this like kind of city life, and he's just frenetic. And Bud and I are both, even after a month of being here, we're like, we need to be in more like we require a farm or something of that sort. So that's what really we're on our way towards. But when we hit Saranda, it was like nice in so many ways. We've had a 1.5 years of pure and utter dismantling of life and being in the unknown. And that was a really long time. 1.5 years is a really long time to sit in that unknown. And we got here and we're like, okay, I could handle this being my known for a little while. But all of a sudden, this energy of change is coming. And like literally an hour ago, I was sitting on the couch, and that I had to write it down. Change is transporting you. So whatever this is, that's ruminating in my own world as far as change. As soon as I know what it is, we're gonna go for it. I have no idea what it is. I do believe it is in the next iteration of where we're supposed to be, so that we can have that family wellness farm of some sort, immersion farm. I don't know what I'm calling it that. So let me see what else I've got. 5D Earth is being formed in physicality by the higher selves. So, right, I already said it. The higher selves have already created the community. They've already created the world. The 5D world, the 5D version has already been created. And we are now in physicality. We are now we're catching up to that world, and it's going to look a lot like what your world looks like. We aren't right now going to another planet. We will be here. It'll just be like we are a copy and paste of a healthy Earth stuck, on top of the unhealthy Earth. But there's going to be a wall of consciousness really that separates us. Or I don't know if it's a wall. It's just, it won't be able to affect us. There's going to be like a protective barrier or something is how I see it. So we won't have, we won't have all of the loudness and the noise from that 3D world happening. We will be kind of superimposed on top of all of that in this fifth dimensional world that our higher selves have already built out based on our intentions and based on our soul contract. And we are at a point now where we can transport our way there simply by answering the calls of any changes that are being required of us. And yes, that's going to be maybe leaving behind or putting about whatever the thing is. I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I don't want to put ideas in your head of what this might look like. It's going to look like what it's going to look like for you, but pay attention when you're being called to change. The faster you do it, the faster you ascend. And that's what this time is all about. We are being like bombarded so that all of the stuff opens up and we're like, I can't do this anymore. So the places that have been calling for change that you've chosen not to change, those are going to become, I've been saying this so for so long, it feels like, but those things, because of the massive amounts of energy that we're getting, those things are going to become more and more unbearable to even handle anymore. Like it's going to be easy to change because you're going to be like, I'm done. It's time for a change. And what's coming up is for me to move to wherever, and I have no idea why, but I'm going there. And all of a sudden you go and you're like, oh, this is why. So this change is your higher self taking you like to the quickest possible route to that higher life, that higher expression of life, and those higher frequencies. And all you need to do is come up to match those frequencies to see them. And the change is the portal. The change is the flash. Call it what you will. The change is the ship that leads to the next flash and the next flash and the next flash and the next flash, until all of a sudden you're like, this is my utopia. I found it. That's how it's going. That's how it's working. So allow yourself to move swiftly through change. Allow yourself to bring in ideas that seems completely out of nowhere. And allow yourself to be excited about those ideas and put your stake in the ground and say, I am going to go be that. And I am going to go live there, wherever it is. You might be in the place you're already, but you'll be called in some way in your own expression of life to change. Okay, let's see what you guys got to say. YouTube, it is. All right, y'all. I'm probably not gonna, in Telegram, I don't know. I'll see how it goes. But I will be here every day at 4. So if you don't get an email, you don't see me on Instagram or whatever, even Telegram, don't take it personally. I don't know. It's a weird, I'm really paying attention to it because I used to get on this computer and I could be on here for 8 hours knocking out stuff for all kinds of things, for work that I love. But now there's such an aversion. I can almost feel like, I don't know. I can't understand it, but it's literally like, it's physically impossible. Sometimes I look at my phone and I get nauseous and like, can't do that. And before I know it, I've gone a whole 12 hours, and which is fine. I don't mind that, but I also don't want to be fully disconnected from you all. So we'll just say this. We'll meet here every day at 4 and see what we're going to talk about. I loathe email. I think you will grow organically just because of consciousness. Yes. Time changes for the States this weekend. When does it change elsewhere, and how will that affect the DTIs? I have no idea. That's a good question. We'll figure it out as we go. I don't know if they change here. That's a good question. I'll look into it, Jessica, and have more information hopefully tomorrow if I don't forget. I have, that's a good possibility, but eventually I will have to remember and figure that out. I have been feeling that exact same way for months. I'm trying to run a business online as well, and all things just don't resonate with me. So I've been trying to find different ways to do things. I think I'm actually wondering, Tarla, that's interesting you said that. If we're being called to do things in a completely different way, and it like blows my mind. So when I first got the call to do the donation base, I was like, what? And that's still like being worked out. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world for me at all. But anyway, I'm working through that. And also I keep hearing, because I've been asking a lot. I'm like, what's this aversion that I have to doing the Instagram things? And I used to like get an insight and go on and want to like post about it, but now they're happening so fast. I'm like, I can't keep up. If you all, my team, need me to do something on this social media thing, then you tell me what to do. And I haven't really gotten guidance at all towards it, which I think is interesting. So I'm wondering if there is a different way. There's a different way that through consciousness that we do this stuff. And I'm kind of playing with it, to be quite quite honest with you. In this past week where I haven't gotten on to social media, or like, I mean, I have, but not like I used to. And I'm wondering if I can take the challenge. Ooh, maybe sorry, I'm getting a download. I'm wondering if this is my call to change the way that people have marketed their things. Like, I don't feel like I want to market. I don't think this is something to market. It's just something to talk about. And if I just do that through consciousness alone, can I still pull in people who will need this message and who want to hear this message, just through consciousness alone, by just showing up at 4 o'clock every day, not doing the traditional, now I'll send the email and then I'll post it here and I'll post it there and I'll post it there, making the image and all of that stuff. Like, what if we don't need that anymore? I'm going to practice with that change. I'm going to say yes to that and just show up here at 4 o'clock every day and leave everything else to consciousness to pull people in. So that's my intention. And let's just experiment with what that looks like. But yeah, that the whole computer thing has been so hard. My dog is saying very vocal. Yeah. Hello from Brazil. Very cool. Welcome. I want to say ciao, but I hope I'm not, stupid American and saying it completely wrong. I've noticed our yellow lab has been barking more frequently. It's weird as he generally only barks at the UPS guy. Yeah. And I think too, I'm wondering with what I've wondered that a few times with the increase in the tones in our ears, how that it affects them differently. If something is higher pitch that we can hear, I don't know how that works, but I've wondered about that. But I don't know, this one behind me, this little one, he has and his bark goes right to your core. Like it like flashes rage through you for like a half a second because it scares you. You're like, Pepe, stop it. And in the middle of the night, like, he hears a noise or something he does in the middle of the night, and it startles me out of my sleep. And oh my God, it's so brutal. But then when he's just here, he's beautiful. He's so sweet and he's cute and he had so much fun today. And I could see like the joy in his eyes, not even the joy, because he has a lot of joy running around, but like the pride as he he was up on this hillside, kind of in between and way far up. Like he goated, we're like, whoa, did you see him goat up there? Like on this rocky, craggy, he was like, hit, hopping up, and he finally got himself all perched up there. And I was watching him. He was just watching us like this. And I could see the pride in his eyes. He was like, finally, I've got things to herd. Before he was just a street dog and, just trying to stay alive. He was in full on, he's in survival mode when he's down in the town. Like, he's just bark central. He's like, Bud's always like, he's such a dick because he goes up to every dog and barks in his face. I know this is a lot of dog talk, but it's still it's the same thing. Like, I watch him and I'm like, oh, he's going through the same thing I am. Like, we're all purging our old stuff, he's purging his need to be in survival mode, and he's finding his purpose and coming into himself and being patient with that while he changes. So we're all having to be patient with each other as we change and morph and become these higher selves that have been waiting for so long. And we're so close. We are so close to that grand flash, and I don't mean it. I mean, who cares how I don't mean it? How I mean it is the grand flash of, like, we just say, okay, change. Yes. Change. Yes. I'll take that. I'll take that. For as fast as we can look at a timeline and sit there and say, okay, I've learned that lesson. Okay. I've taken the gold out of that. Now I'm going to swipe that up and be done with that timeline. We have this new timeline that is inviting us in. And once we hit it, I think it's an elevator ascending us into those higher realms, which is why many of us feel really disoriented and disconnected, because we are ascending so high because of these frequencies. But now the awareness is on what is being called for me to change. And when you say yes to that change, already you're going to shoot up because you've gotten to willingness. And then once you take a step, you're going to shoot up because you've gotten to, you're in action. So any kind of change that you're called to make, that you do make, or that you at least start the process on, is going to jet you up. So that is like, we're going to be kind of bolstered, like energetically up, like we're going to be pushed up already by the natural energies that are coming in, plus help. our, you know, our galactic friends. But now when we're like, okay, we're gonna change, just like this dog, his life went from 0 to 60, like in the beauty of love in overnight. He was just like, I choose you guys. And now he's living like in a high rise and going in cars for the first time. It's hilarious. So I'm like, oh, he's living his 5D life, but he has to ascend with us. This dog, he has to ascend with us to this higher level as well. So he's got to be able to change, and we have to be patient with him while we all change, while we all ascend and get our ahas and say yes to change and all the things. So just be patient with your pets and with your families. And I mean, same thing we already know, but again, like how it's now unfolding in this way is it's kind of like the next level of patience that we have to dig into. I had that hello from Saskatchewan. Let me just say this. Yeah. Okay, Alicia said, I had that dream that the sun opened up a portal and floated to a different earth. I haven't been the same since. Yeah, you probably haven't, Alicia. I would imagine that that's a big ascension. And you know, on the Schumann resonance a lot, I used to, when I was posting more from the Schumann, those ascension columns. I don't know if you all remember those, but you can go back way back a little bit now on Instagram, and these ascension columns and the things that I used to see on the Schumann are like these ascension columns, which is like these, you know, oops, sorry, girl. The literally like the portals that like when we're in it, we just go like a big elevator. There's no static, there's no like resistance in there. It's just like a pure on peaceful quiet, like and those are the days where you wake up and you're like, I didn't really have to do a whole lot of work, but I'm really disoriented. That's usually those. But the other day, I think I posted on, not I think I know I on Instagram, I literally saw it was the sunlight, but you could see there was like a portal. I was like, that's an ascension portal, but it was actually in the physical world. It wasn't just energy showing up on the Schumann. It was like I could see it out there, and it wasn't all the way down to, you know, to the earth, but it's making its way down. And I do believe that's the consciousness. The more that we raise our consciousness, we say yes to these changes, our ships take us higher, that this ascension column comes down. And that's like, in my mind, when I see it come all the way down and hit the earth, then I like, that's when some massive changes will be occurring in that moment. And it was like halfway down, so we just have to keep that energy up. So you probably, you won't be the same, Alicia. Like every time we're like, "Ooh, I feel so different," you're never going to be. You won't be able to be the same as you were yesterday, because eventually those frequencies will be unhealthy for you to be at. Isn't that crazy? Like the person you were a year ago, if you went back, you would be completely unhealthy now, because your body knows the health of these higher frequencies. And to lower your frequency back to even who you were last year, it would bring all of your cells, all of your tissue, everything down in a lower frequency, and eventually it would cause dis-ease, and then eventually disease. That's a crazy thought. Like the health and wellness of who we are now is so much brighter and wider and bigger and more expansive than just who we were a week ago. Our teams are asking us to jump off cliffs without knowing how it'll all work out. Yeah. And I've talked a lot about that. I've talked a lot, like in, you know, back in like the end of 2021, I was talking about that on these daily tune-ins. Like it's a scary thing. Like jumping off those cliffs is not easy. But I will tell you, Bud and I we unpacked every detail of this last year and a half, you know, a few hours ago now. And I was like, yeah, but what if this? What if I was going like worst case scenario? I was like, well, what if I would have done this? And what if this would happen? And everywhere we go, we're like, but we'd still be here, right? Like, and that's the best feeling, because sometimes when I feel sad about something, I feel sad about my kids not being here. We go back to the beginning. We're like, okay, let's break down what would happen. And either way, no matter whether you like took that left turn instead of the right turn 6 years ago, whether you said yes rather than no, you know, 10 years ago, no matter what, you would still be where you are now. That's the most beautiful thing. And this show Timeless that we've been watching on on Netflix, like that has also kind of given us more confirmation of that. Like every time they go to try to save something in history, it always ends up being, it's the same result. It just happens in a different way when they try to mess with history to change like the present. The present still stays the same. It reveals itself differently. And that was a big lesson. It's like, oh, no matter what, you can go back and change everything and you're still going to end up right here. If this is our path, this is where you're supposed to be in this moment, at this moment in time. Therefore, your soul, your higher self has already chosen this moment. And like, that's kind of cool. And if we just stay in that mindset of like, okay, I chose this at some point. So if you don't like what you chose, then ask your higher self, where do we go from here? And she's going to say, you go here. And you're going to say, I don't understand. What does that have to do with anything? And she's going to say, who cares? Do you trust me? Yes. Then go here. So when you're asked to go here, you just go here. Make it easy on yourself. Or you could do what we mostly have always done, been like, well, I'll just go here. And I'll just go here. And I'll just go here. I'll take my own logical steps up because this makes sense. But eventually, you still got to go there anyway. And you've got to make some kind of change or transformation. So either way, you're going to have to go through it. So you can extend the amount of time. If you want this flash for yourself to come a lot faster and you to flash into your 5D version, then just get to the changes and step through the pain and the fear of it. Sorry, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but to use that saying, I never really liked that saying. Our teams are asking this. Yeah. I am a caretaker of the magic on my property. No one else would care for it properly. However, many other changes happening. My roots are many lifetimes ingrained here. I feel questionable. Interesting. Huh. Yeah. And remember too, another little metaphor that Bud and I did a long article on this couple summers ago about up potting, and it got a lot of like controversy. It kind of pissed people off. It triggered people. But Bud's a plant guy and always digging his hands and stuff. And I would just watch him when in Austin, we had this beautiful, it was beautiful to me, but it was a greenhouse, and I would go sit down there and do things on my computer for work. And, and he would just move plants around and do pot plants, and he would up pot plants. And, if you have a plant in a potter, eventually when the plant is healthy, it grows and grows and grows. And then you have to up pot it. So it gives it more, more room for the roots to grow. And that's that just keeps going in. And Bud made this for me. I forgot about this. This was something that came out. He drew this for me on our first year together, and it was about making roots. And we were like, holy crap, this is crazy, because this is Texas where we met and where our lives came together. And this is Northern California, where we thought logically, we're like, this makes total sense to go to Northern California. That's where we're going to put our roots in, and that's where we're going to make this life. We're going to get a farm, and we're going to be sustainable and have immersions and parties and, music, have it be a music venue, like something just killer, like you come and you're like, I don't know what to do about this, because I just rocked out with some cool band last night, and tonight we're doing some kind of cacao ceremony. Like, it's going to rock your world, because I want it to rock my home. My space is going to rock, our space is going to rock my own world. That's my 5D expression. That's what we're on this journey for. And so when I thought it was going to be in Northern California, we did. And we took this out. I was like, whoa, it's so crazy. At that point, we had no idea that we'd be called to put roots somewhere else. Like, the up potting process from what this was just 4 years ago when he drew this for my birthday to where we are now blows my mind. And it literally took answering the call and being like, but what does Ukraine have? Because I know that's not the place. Like, what does that have to do with anything? It got to the point where we couldn't ask questions. We just had to do. And we're here, and now I'm starting to feel the same. It's the similar. I can feel this energy. I'm like, damn it, this is so familiar, because I just want to rest for a minute. But this isn't the time that we get to rest, right? We have to hold this line of consciousness. So I'm feeling this familiar churning, and it's the organization of the higher self being like, okay, don't get too comfortable. You might have, a little bit more time there to take all of this in, but we need you here, right? We need to be in 5D. We all need to be there in our expression of the 5D life so that we can model for the 3D people that are still down here who are so afraid of change that they're being called to change and they're hanging on still, like with their fingernails are in their life, being like, no, I'm not going to change. They have to have somebody, like they are that scared and fearful. There are people so fearful of change that they need to see that someone else has done it and that this other world does exist, because we can barely grasp it, right? From like our extended consciousness. And even me, I'm still like, no, like, are we going to go on spaceships? Is that how we get there? Like the more I ask that question, my team's like, eventually yes, but no, not right now. You guys aren't ready. You'd freak the hell out even still. Looking for us every night, you'd still freak out if we showed up. So here's how we're going to do this. We are going to do this through consciousness. The flash is going to be in your own consciousness. You control your own flash simply by saying yes to the changes that you are being called to. Keep kind of like coming around to this, but I'm really thinking and feeling like this is really important because I'm in it too. And this churning of something, and I've had many of you send me messages saying, I just feel it so close. I feel it so close. And what the answer to that is, it is because you have to say yes to something. You have to walk towards something. And right now, in my place of peace, now I'm starting to feel the churning of something new that eventually I know it's going to then organize itself into an opportunity or a possibility that all of a sudden it's like this. And we're going to be like, oh, that sounds really great. But I don't feel like packing everything up. I feel like we've gotten something that feels like home, and I'm excited to come home to. And I was excited to commit to this for a year, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be that. So now I'm like, I might have to just pack this shit up again and move again. I'm done with that. But my higher self knows that, and she knows this isn't the place. I had to be here for something. Maybe it's just to see this. I don't know. But we're all being called. Okay. All the reminders and email they send you back on Telegram are redundant for me, and I have to delete them. Okay, good, Carly. Thank you for saying that. That's perfect. Oh, man, you guys are saying everything I want to hear. So I'm just excited. Like, this is just going to be a YouTube date. We all just come here every day. Brenna, it's okay. Surrender to where you are. All happens as it should. We don't have to try so hard. Yeah, Christine, thank you for saying that, because I don't want it to feel like there's this fine line, and I've had many conversations about this, of the fine line between the getting to it and allowing it, like, and I struggle with that too, because I'm a getter toer. Like, okay, this needs to get done. Let's just get her done. And sometimes that's harder. This past year, I've been able to be and allow time to kind of ease me into things. Not really easing, but like I've needed the time, because if I just jumped right in, it would blow my mind, kind of thing. Like, it would not blow my mind like, oh my gosh, it would blow my mind like I wouldn't be able to handle all of the emotions that came with some of those steps that we had to take. Like, it had to be 5 months in Ukraine, because it just that's how long it took for the work that had to be done there and the training that had to be done there. So it took 5 months. So when you say yes to a change, it might be a little bit of time, but don't let that discourage you. I think that's the whole point of the 2 days, is like, you can't, if you say, okay, I'm going to change, and it's going to take some time to move through that change, you're not getting behind. You're actually getting ahead, because the amount of change that you might need is not that much. It just might be one or, 2 things. I don't really know, but it's not like, I don't want you to stress out about like, oh my God, I got to change and get it done so I can get to the flash, right? It's like, stop with the flash stuff. Okay. Like, we're in it. This is a process. It's a process. It's not a big bang. If it were a big bang, we probably none of us would be here. So the flash is here. It's happening. The ships are here. It is you, and you are being taken higher all automatically, naturally, but you can help go higher faster if and when you say yes to change and do it at your pace. Because even as you do it at your pace, you're still rising up and you're still experiencing higher and higher levels of your expression of life that you're in right now. Okay. So thank you, Christine. That opened up that thought too for me as well. That wasn't there until I saw your comment. So thank you. Carly, love being here in the group consciousness and listening to you, Vidette. Thank you. How long has this been? I feel like I've been talking. I've been hearing my voice for a while. I said yes to a big change with my trip this last week, and I'm still feeling disoriented from it. Ooh. I'm looking forward to hearing about it, Tara. By the way, everybody, we're having our Ascension Bank Ascension Circle on Saturday. So I will send out the link in the Patreon group. So Marie says, ringing has been intense. Woke up at 2 a.m., lasted a couple of hours. Yeah. Ringing is like really obvious. Christine, you are the magic on your land. I agree. I think your roots are there and you know by how you feel. Yeah. You do know, like I knew I've never been rooted in a place yet. I've lived in a lot of places, I really liked. And Northern California was the closest I came to having, wanting to put down roots until the Europe thing came up. I was like, oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. I've always kind of wanted that, but I would never even, consider that it might happen. Christine, you are the magic. Yes. Tara, sometime would like to hear about your trip. Yes. Tara, hopefully you're willing to share because we're all dying to know about your trip. Just finished Dolores Cannon's The 3 Waves of Volunteers and explains the ascension symptoms mechanics. Really gave me so much comfort. Oh, good, Carly. I haven't read, I need to do something with her stuff because so many people, I know Dolores Cannon, of course, but I've never gotten into her work at all. And I think I haven't because her, with being a hypnotherapist and stuff, I wanted to just explore my own methodologies with that. But I think it's time maybe I kind of go in that direction. Lisa says, I'm a Virgo. Tell me about getting uncomfortable with change. Yeah, a change thing. One of the last chapters of Volunteers really helps us see things. Wow, this message is hitting hard. Oh, good. Lots of friction between my husband and I lately at a crossroads for sure. 24-year work anniversary on the 18th of March here. Woo! It's a long time. My inner voice, higher self, is like, get me the bleep out of here. Yeah. That's all we were in Ukraine. I'll tell you what, I will be talking about that forever because that was such a weird stage. And my higher self was like, nope, you got to stay another month. Like my whole ego was like, get me out. I'm dying. I really thought I was going to die in Ukraine. Not because of war stuff, like nothing like that. Like it was more like the oppressive, it's, yeah, man, like for empaths, I would like, I don't know if I'm dying to talk, not really dying, but I would love to talk to somebody who has been there, who's empathic, like who can feel like, because it was so dense to me there. It was the craziest thing, but I didn't really have anyone. But I mean, Bud, he was there with me, but he speaks, that language differently than I do. But we were both so uncomfortable there, and not in any kind of danger, like nothing like that, or wasn't dangerous. It was one of the safest places I've ever been. It was, and the beautiful people, but it was just like the energy of that land. And the more I'm reading now about the war, the more that I'm reading about what it's really about, I can understand it because there was a lot going on underground than I knew when I was there. After purging arrived in the sun yesterday, the test of trusting where you are is where you are meant to be will be challenged by other people's resistance to your change. Michelle, no doubt. Other people's resistance to the change was like my greatest lesson. I could not, man, I that changed me. Like the thing that changed me was getting to the point where I couldn't explain why we were doing what we were doing anymore. I would just be like, I can't explain anymore. That's it. And at that point, if people left my life, they left my life, and people did. I just couldn't, like you can't explain your changes because especially now because they're going to be so illogical and majority of the people in this world are still very analytical, very left brain and in the logic or sense, it's not a bad place to be, but without the other side of the emotional intelligence to be compassionate and empathetic towards others. So when they hear something that challenges them, instead of just being like, oh, well, you go live your journey and have your path, they attack it. Why would you do that? You're leaving this and you went to school for that. And this is, like, why would you do that? Well, because of this is like, and then try saying like, well, my soul is just taking me there. And then you get the big eye roll. It's like, oh, you're going to just go. Yes, I'm just going to go do that. I'm going to go follow my soul. Social media is corrupt. Change is the only way. Consciousness will shine its light on you. Thank you, Heather, for saying that. I needed to hear that. I agree. I have such a hard time at work too. I feel all the time in front of the computer is wasted time. I don't feel it's my purpose to do this job, but I need the money. Open, yeah, just Isabel, stay open to all the possibilities of money and watch what happens. I don't need the reminders. We'll be on time to connect with you. Good. Oh man, this is the best. Yep, ditto on just go that go here. I have learned to live with the adventure. Many times no rhyme or reason to the adventure other than just know to move a certain direction and all falls into place, and it does. That has also been my experience in like such a big way in this last, like the things that we've been able to do, and like we meet people at the it's like everything you read about like the law of attraction, which is just like this minute small little, that whole world drives me crazy. So I'm like, there's so much more to it than that. But the thing that we do learn is like, just make a decision and things fall in place. Like it had that we just happened to meet somebody that had a brother that did this, then that brother ended up driving us to Saranda here, and we ended up 30 hours in the car with this guy, and he became an amazing friend. He's in Ukraine, and like now we're conversing with him about what's going on with the war stuff so that we can get our own our own perspective on it and not have to like look at other things. So it's like the synchronicities and the beauty that has happened from jumping off that cliff and just allowing ourselves to trust this process and trust that I have no freaking clue why we ended up where we did and when we did. But after the fact, we're like, oh, that's what that part was about. It all makes perfect sense, to the point when I unpack all of this and I'm living without my kids. And at this point, I'm like, which seems like the worst case scenario. But every time we go through the scenarios, we end up here and we're like, oh no, we're exactly where we need to be. And to know that logically and in my heart and in my soul now with my husband, like this is our soul path. We had to do this, which means our kids had to do what they had to do as well. So it's all getting us into the higher 50 expressions. We just got to it. We jumped in, and sometimes change is painful and you don't understand it and it rolls you around a little bit. But these rocks I picked up are so damn beautiful because they've rolled around in the sea for a long time. And like, they're amazing now. They're amazing works of art. And that's how we are because of this journey. And we have the ability to just become shiny and polished in this time now, right now, because we're done with the lower stuff. We've dismantled that in our own lives, or we're finishing up on that. We're figuring it out, letting it go, closing those timelines, blessing them for all of the gifts and the beauty they brought our lives, because no matter how bad they are, they always brought beauty. I will always say, the best thing that ever happened to me was walking into my ex-husband with another woman. That, like, in that moment, it was the worst day of my life. But you know what? It led me right here where everything now, I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Like, I don't want to be anywhere else, honey. Like, do you know how crazy that feels? It's not where I want to be, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else than right here, than right now, because I know that I'm on the path and I just have to listen and just keep ascending in my little light ship. So your little light ships are probably tired of hearing my voice. My chapstick is gone. My lips are getting dry, and the sun's about to set here. So I'm going to be beaming lots of love as I watch the sunset come in. My I Am Presence is connecting with each and every one of your I Am Presence. And as a collective, we then hook into the I Am Presence of all of humanity, and we send out peace and love and joy. And as all of these, every single human on our planet starts to get clarity, not even starts, but starts to answer the clarity and the understanding that comes to them, we know that what they have in store. And we just beam them love, we beam them light, and know that change and transformation is one of the most blessed journeys of our lives, of our soul path. And our souls are taking us on some amazing journeys and some amazing transformations. And I cannot wait to share them with you and to hear all of your transformational journeys as well. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for not needing my emails, because we'll just be here every day at 4, and that takes a lot of stuff off of my plate, I feel like, energetically. So thank you for lightening up my day. Love to you all so much. Mwah. Have a good one. Thanks for being patient. It's been a long one today. Have a good one. Mwah.